Hello, good evening, and welcome to Aro Ling Cardiff. Good to see you all here. The teachings tonight are on the 12 links of interdependent origination, which is an aspect of the wheel of life, and Ngakma Nor'dzin will be teaching. If you have any questions at any time, it's probably best to type them into the chat, and I will take a look at them, and I will interrupt Ngakma Nor'dzin at some appropriate moment, hopefully. Should we just pull that up? Okay.
I don't think you'll be able to see that when I start the presentation.
Right.
Anyway.
Well, if if this becomes invisible to me during the presentation, I will pick up the questions when they are miraculously revealed. So from here on, it's over to Ngakma Nor'dzin Mama.
So good evening. You have to excuse me if my voice is a bit peculiar this evening. I have a bit of a tooth thing happening that got a dentist appointment to sort it out tomorrow, but it's a bit peculiar at the moment, so I'll do my best. So the 12 interdependent links of origination, of causation, of arising, I've heard them all referred to in that way, are a teaching that describes how one becomes involved in the wheel of korwa, of samsara, of cyclic existence. And I think they do exist as Sutrayana teachings outside of the context of the wheel of life, but my experience of them has always been in terms of the wheel of life. Now, this tanka, which I will put up presently on the screen, is an image that can be found throughout the world of Tibetan Buddhism and Bhutanese Buddhism, certainly. But we've actually found references that suggest that it dates right back to the time of Shakyamuni Buddha. So it could be extremely ancient. And it's a pictorial representation of the causes that we create, that means that we then are born into the realms of being that Ngakpa Nor'dzin taught on a week or two ago, and that we create our own karmic patterning and our own experience of dissatisfaction through this. So this is going to be a presentation on Google Photos, so I will share screen again. Okay, so this, there we are, it's showing. So I'll now do this as a slideshow. And this is the wheel of life that is at the Punaka Lakang, thank you, in mid-Bhutan. And this is a particularly lovely one with particularly well defined images of the 12 interdependent links around the outer edge there. So this is what I'm going to be talking about. The usual presentation is to take them in a circle, moving in a clockwise direction round the outer links. But as you can see, the next stage of the wheel of life is the realms, and this whole depiction is explaining in a pictorial form how we create our own experience of dissatisfaction, how we get locked into that and continually turn this wheel, continually create this experience. I'm just going to go off full screen for a minute because I've noticed that the video has stopped. It tends to do that when I share screen, so I'll just put that back on. Okay, good. Is it still on full screen? Has it gone off full screen? There we go. Now, what I've done, you can see these 12 pictures around the outer edge here, but they're a bit small. They're a bit difficult to see the detail in them. So I've taken these 12 images and I've created some little, taken the sort of important parts out of these images and created them as separate images to show you so you can see them more clearly. Now, often this is taught as a cycle through a single life, sometimes 2 lives. I've even heard it described as 3 lives. But from the inner Tantra point of view, from the point of view of Vajrayana, we look at it in a slightly different way. We look at these links as describing how form arises, how each moment is created by the circling of these links. So in the terms of the teaching from this perspective, this wheel is not really relating to a human life. The images deal with human imagery because we're human beings, so we can immediately identify with those images. But the wheel is actually turning at the speed of mind. And so these are mind moments, how we create mind moments and how we create the causes to be born in any of those 6 realms through these mind moments. Now, often this begins with the teaching begins with the top right at the sort of 1 o'clock position, but I'm actually going to begin top left at the sort of 12 o'clock position, because for the way I'm going to present this evening, that makes more sense. So this first image is of a person carrying a corpse to a stupa or a kirtan. And this represents life and death, all in one image. And it's a reminder that every time the moment dies, whatever that moment was, there is an opportunity for something new to begin. As soon as form dissolves into emptiness, then something will arise. Some form will arise from that. And we don't actually have to carry the corpse with us. That could be a completely new beginning. We can just completely let what has gone before go and allow this cycle to arise as a completely new opportunity. So the death of a moment is always an open-ended opportunity for the birth of a new moment to be different in some way, to be a moment of awakening. The next image is of a blind person being led by a child. And the blind person is grey-haired, so this is an old person. So you've got the old and the new here. The blind person is also moving, and the child's pointing in the direction of what has gone before, rather than in the direction of what is about to start. So there's this tendency to just continue our patterns, to blindly stumble on into another turning of the wheel of interdependent origination without seizing that opportunity, without being completely open to the opportunity that the death of that moment gave us. And also you've got this interesting contrast of the old and the new here, the old that has actually finished and the new that is beginning, and yet there's this harking back to what has just gone. The next image is of a potter making pots. And this is, I think the term given for this is mental formations. So the first movement towards form is the mere awareness of the capacity to move into form in an intangible space. And clay is a very nice example here, I think, because clay has no form of its own. Clay is just this sticky, wet, amorphous mass, but it can be made into these beautiful shapes by a skillful person. And those shapes could be anything. But if you then leave that pot outside without doing anything else to it, over time it will just gradually dissolve back into the clay form that it originally was. It has no form of itself. And this is also another indication of the opportunity of the new moment, that form is completely open-ended when it first arises. It could take any shape, any form. We do not have to hark back to the old patterns. So I've just put these three up together because I'm going to do each sets of three and just say a little bit about it in that way. So the moment has died and a new moment is arising, and something can be created out of that new moment. So why are we looking back? Why are we carrying the corpse of that moment? Why are we not able, or why don't we just let go of what's gone before and wholeheartedly enter the empty dimension of what the next moment has to offer? The next image is of this is consciousness, and this is a monkey in a tree. And the monkey is a very agile and lively creature, but tends to be rather undisciplined and mischievous. So it's an image for the mind that is leaping and swinging and jumping from branch to branch, looking for somewhere to rest, somewhere to hang on to. And so this is the disembodied consciousness that again is open-ended and is an open possibility, but because of previous karmic patterning is flaying around looking for something rather than just being. And then the next image moves into name and form. So here the form is starting to coalesce into something that could be given a name and could be identified as having a form. And this image is of people in a boat. Now, when we first looked at this image at small size, we thought it was people and a horse in a boat, but actually the horse is a figurehead. And there's a few of the Wheel of Life tankers that I've seen this, that the horse is the figurehead of the boat. And horse in Tibetan Buddhism is a symbol of lungta, of the arising of subtle energies. So this name and form is about the starting of form to coalesce. This is the skandhas, form, feeling, oh, I didn't make a note of what they all were, form, feeling, consciousness, mental formations, sensation.
It's a volitional activity.
Volitional activities. So these are the 5 skandhas. And so we're starting to have some sense of the form being able to travel. You travel in a boat, so the skandhas are traveling in this boat, but it's still quite open. There's nothing very fixed about it at the moment. And then we move into the next one, which is an image of a house. And this is the five senses plus ideation. And this is usually represented by a house, and the house has often got a wall around it. So this is, we've grounded ourselves. We've decided that we're, how do you Rinpoche put it? That we put a cardboard box over our heads and put 5 holes in it, plus a 6th one for ideation. So we have the 5 senses, and that's how we're going to experience the world. Now, these 3 cannot really be separated. These are going to arrive spontaneously, that there's consciousness, the skandhas arise, and the 6 senses are there. So this is the form beginning to have some shape to it, to be able to experience the existence of oneself, the existence of other phenomena. So you can start to have a relationship with other phenomena. You can touch things, you can hear things, you can taste things, you can smell things, you can see things, and you can have ideas and mental impressions about what you're experiencing. Now, this could be that the monkey has settled down into the boat and flows with the experience. This could still be a very open and creative experience. We don't have to ground ourselves and put a brick wall around ourselves. We could just stay in the boat and flow and go with whatever arises to the senses. The senses could be completely open experience, completely magical, vivid, wonderful experience of continually experiencing whatever comes to the senses and whatever ideas arise to mind. We don't have to limit that through the previous experience, the previous karmic patterns, the corpse. We don't have to carry that corpse into this situation. We don't have to fumble around blindly, wanting to go back to something that's familiar. We don't have to fix our pots, fire our pots. We can let the pots arise, we can let the pots dissolve back into clay. It doesn't have to become a solid thing where we're just looking through holes. We don't have to, we can be the whole experience, not just somebody in the building looking out through these windows. The next one is contact. So we're able now to experience through the senses, through the 5 skandhas, and so we make contact with phenomena. We're able to make contact through the sense fields, make contact through interaction, through being able to talk to people and have ideas and discuss those ideas. And this is an image of a pair of a new relationship, the first contact, the first kiss perhaps of a new relationship. So this is that this can be a very pleasurable thing, that the body, once we have physical form, it can be a very enjoyable thing, that it's an opportunity to enjoy all that phenomena can present to us, and a wonderful opportunity to have ideas and to be open to everything that is possible. The next image is not quite so enjoyable, because this is a picture of somebody with an arrow in their eye. And this is interesting because an arrow in the eye is obviously going to be a very distressing thing to happen, although this person doesn't look particularly distressed. But getting anything in your eye, if you've got something in your eye, you really know about it. It could be the tiniest little fleck in the eye, but it really makes your eyes run, it feels uncomfortable, you want to get it out. And yet we are like people with an arrow in our eye in the way that we cling to that corpse, and we cling to going back, and we cling to our previous patterning. It is like we've got this arrow in our eye that if we could just pull it out, then we could be free to just experience the sensation of that contact, to experience everything that contact offers. We could just enjoy that. It is an intense and vivid and wonderful thing to be able to make contact with phenomena through the sense fields. But we don't have to limit that experience through looking back at the previous links and holding on to the previous experience. We have to get that arrow out of our eye and just experience directly what the sense fields are offering us. That experience we classify, so we may classify it as painful, or we may classify it as pleasant. But however we classify it, it is somehow alluring. It's like drinking beer. So this is craving, that even if we experience sensation, contact, and then sensation as painful, as difficult, it still is something we want. We want that more than being nothing. We have this terrible fear of the being nothing. For some reason, we think that if that experience of the senses, of contact, sensation, if we just allow it to naturally dissolve, somehow there's this fear of the empty space that might occur there before the cycle begins again, that somehow we're going to get lost in that space. So even though sensation might be like an arrow in the eye, we still crave it. We want more and more of it. We don't want it to end. We don't want the experience to change. So these three, contact, sensation, and craving, are that we attach to form classifications and an understanding that is inaccurate. Form, the experience of the sense fields, the experience of sensation, these will just naturally continue. We don't actually need to doubt that. When something ends, we don't need to doubt that something else will begin, and yet somehow we do. And so because of this craving, because we fear that emptiness that will happen when the beer runs out, or because we're drunk so much beer, the experience of drinking beer is starting to change. That emptiness that naturally occurs at the end, we fear it. And so what do? We grasp. We grasp at the fruits of contact, sensation, and craving, and we try to store them in baskets. We're continually reaching. All the images show a figure reaching to pluck these things and hold them. We want to own it. We want to solidify it. We want that experience to be solid, separate, permanent, continuous, and defined, because we feel alive through that experience. And we fear the emptiness of that experience dissolving. And so we grasp at it continually, trying to solidify it in that way and store it so that it will never end. But this isn't possible. everything ends. The moment will change, the moment will move, the moment will turn into something else. So this grasping is limiting the moment rather than giving us what we think we will achieve through the grasping. There cannot be that solidity because there's also lack of solidity. There cannot be that permanence because impermanence is a natural state of form. Form is always impermanent. We cannot be separate, we cannot be continuous, we cannot be defined. All these states naturally dissolve. But through our grasping, we move into becoming. And becoming is illustrated by here a pregnant woman, but sometimes by a couple making love. And here, what is becoming is the form of this mind moment, the realm that this mind moment is putting us in, the results of our reaction to the movement of the other links, the reaction through into form. What is becoming in this image here is what we have created from that. So we've either created a moment of dissatisfaction through attraction, aversion, of indifferent, or we've created a moment of awakening through open, vivid, awakened experience with the arising of form. And then that becoming gives birth, and you are born into whatever that moment is. I love the graphic quality of this image. The moment is born, the form is complete. And then if you remember what the first image was, the first image was somebody carrying a corpse to the curtain. So what happens after birth is that moment, that mind moment, is whatever it is in whatever realm it is creating whatever karmic pattern it's creating, perhaps entrenching a pattern that already exists, perhaps creating a new karmic pattern, or possibly unwinding a karmic pattern, opening into a more awakened view. That is also a possibility. But after birth, then comes the first image, death. But we'll go back. So those last three, just to link those last three together, grasping, becoming, and birth, they are all the inevitable reaction, the inevitable response, the inevitable result of all the previous links, and our relationship with form, arising out of the emptiness of the death of the moment. So to come back to the wheel of life, we've gone round this cycle. We've been born into one of the realms. If we've been born into the hell realm in that moment, then that might be a moment of anger, a moment of unkindness, or a moment of feeling that we're being attacked in some way, a moment of defensiveness, a moment of fear. Perhaps we've been born into the hungry ghost realm, which is on the right, lower right-hand side. So that's going to be a moment of feeling dissatisfied, of being hungry and needy and not getting what is needed. Or into the animal realm, which is the lower left side, where we're governed by a lack of sense of humor, a sense of duty, being stuck in repeating patterns that we don't question, having no sense of any openness or spaciousness to make our own decisions. We're driven by instinctual responses or opinions that have become too restrictive and solid. Or perhaps we're born into the jealous God realm in this mind moment, which is the upper left image. And this realm is quite fortunate in the sense that there's quite a lot of comfort in that realm, but there's always this feeling still of dissatisfaction that this realm isn't as good as the God realm, and you can actually, they're actually connected, the God and the demigod realm. And so there's this continual feeling of jealousy of, I'm glad I'm not down there, but I want to be up there. I want to be in that God realm. And so I've got to fight the people around me in order to make sure I get there and they don't. Or I'm very jealous of the people around me because they appear to be getting there and I'm not getting there fast enough. Or perhaps this spin of the 12 links has enabled us to arrive in a God realm moment, a moment of feeling completely happy and contented. That happiness and contentment is wonderful. That could be the cause of awakening, unless it's still rooted in the me project. It's my happiness. It's my contentment. I'm completely indifferent to your suffering, your dissatisfaction. I just don't even see it. And that godlike indifference means that the next spin, if you stay in that realm, you will eventually create the causes for dissatisfaction because you're so indifferent, you're so cold, you're going to end up in a cold realm because there's just no kindness there. There's just this, you might think you're realized in the God realm, but actually it's a bit of a dead end because it doesn't go anywhere. So where you want to make sure that mind moment is in the human realm, which is the upper right realm. And the thing about the human realm is you've got a reasonable amount of unhappiness, but a reasonable amount of happiness. And you've got the possibility of a sense of humor. You can discriminate. You can decide to actually help somebody else. You can see that, well, I can't be completely happy while you're not happy. So it's actually made me happier to enable you to be happier. That I can't really enjoy my comfortable state when I see you're in such an uncomfortable state. And we can laugh at ourselves. We can laugh at our patterning. We can laugh at how we continue to repeat our patterns. We can laugh that we're carrying that corpse in the first link. We can laugh that we're still blind and harking back to what went before. We have that capacity to actually understand the teachings and engage with the teachings in a way that can unwind the cycling of these links that will make us fall into the different realms, so that the cycle can actually open up. And when form arises, it's actually cycling out of the inevitability of the realms and cycling out into complete awakening, where one can still take form and be reborn in these realms, but one will be reborn in them in that mind moment. This is, I'm talking about mind moments being born, not physical lifetime being born. But that mind moment can be a choice of where you are, a choice of how you are, a recognition of when you've got it wrong, so that these links can then be an opening up and a possibility to help yourself and help others through awareness of the arising and dissolving of form. We can let things go, we can let things arise. So that is the 12 interdependent links from the point of view of Vajrayana, where these links are very fast cycling. In fact, they're all spontaneously present. They don't really follow on one from another. They're all present. The length of time that you could measure them in terms of them being a sequence would be so short that you would have to be fully awakened to be able to even see that as a possibility, let alone experience it. So there's not really any point in trying to see the cycle in terms of the individual points. The point is to see the cycle in terms of how we create the problems of the mind moment. We create the unsatisfactoriness, the discomfort of the realms through wrong view, which takes us through all these different points in the 12 interdependent links. And if any of those 12 points, there's the possibility of thinking, hey, I don't have to grasp here, or this contact could be completely open, or I could stay in this boat and just flow, and whatever happens, may it happen, and that is absolutely fine. Or I can make these clay pots and then I can just let them dissolve. Or this sensation is amazing. I'll definitely have another sensation, so I don't have to crave it and go for it. I can just let it dissolve and see what happens next. So I hope that's been useful, a useful way of looking at these links. I'm actually writing a book on the Wheel of Life at the moment. I have no idea when it will be out, but it will come out at some point, and then I'll go into all these things in quite a lot of depth. So I'll go off share screen now.
Wonderful. Thank you very much indeed. I feel that I, for one, understand the 12 links in a much clearer way than I'd ever done before. I'd have to say that I previously found them quite mysterious. And to have them explained in terms of mind moments rather than plodding through a lifetime, not only makes sense of all of them, particularly with the clarity of your teaching, but makes them viably usable in terms of the ever-present possibility of liberation. So I think that this has been a most powerful teaching on this subject.
Thank you very much. So I will stop recording now.
I did have a question. The significance of the old man and the child, there seemed to be a significance in the direction in which they were going, that they were being taken, as we see it, because we tend to see things from left to right, taken backwards towards a previous time, and a sense of familiarity with that. Does direction play a significant part in any of the other aspects of the Wheel of Life? Because I noticed, for example, that the boat in these images appears to be going from right to left.
No, I don't think. I think that's probably, I mean, I don't know, but I think that's probably more an artistic thing, because, well, it is pointing to going in the direction of the realms, because that's what we're creating. Right. We're creating a mind moment. So to have the boat pointing out of the wheel wouldn't really make sense in terms of those interdependent links are leading you in the direction of taking rebirth in the mind, taking rebirth in a realm, in any mind moment.
That makes sense. I think it's probably difficult to fit all the symbolism, especially as the links are having to make their way around a circle. But it makes sense to me to have the idea that that boat at the moment is heading towards the depiction of the realms. So it seems to say that the interaction between the 12 links and the 6 realms is a teaching as well as being separate teachings. There is a teaching there.
Well, I think that's the thing about the Wheel of Life, that all the different sections are connected. It's a complete teaching, because even Yama, the Lord of Death, holding the wheel is the teaching. So there isn't any aspect of it that doesn't make sense in terms of the whole. I think it all fits together very beautifully in that way. Sometimes the image of the blind person is walking in the direction, but in all the versions of the Wheel of Life that I've seen where the blind person's walking clockwise, they don't have the child with them.
Right.
They're on their own. So I feel that in the ones that where there is this child and the blind person, that it's the symbolism of the old life and the new life, that the new life is there, but it's leading back to the old life because of ignorance, because of wrong views that continue, not being able to let go of the previous moment.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.